I was 14. I had just boarded a plane, my very first time flying alone. I walked up to my seat in first class, and the flight attendant stopped me. She looked at my ticket, looked at me, and said,
I think you're in the wrong cabin, sweetheart.
but I wasn't. And what she didn't know was that my dad owns the airline. Hi, my name's Amira, and this is the story of the flight I'll never forget. A story about racism, about assumptions, and about what happens when people judge you before they know your story. I'm 14. I love science, makeup tutorials, and writing short stories. I'm also the daughter of a man who worked his way from baggage handler to founder and CEO of Skynova Airlines. Yup, my dad owns an airline, and he made sure I never grew up spoiled. He didn't flash money. He didn't post watches or cars. He taught me to be kind, to be quiet, and to never think I'm better than anyone else. So when I had to fly alone for the first time, from Chicago to LA, he booked me in first class. He wanted me to be comfortable. He even walked me to the gate himself before I boarded. I had a hoodie on, leggings, braids in a messy bun, no designer bag, no shiny jewelry, just a book and my carry-on. I walked into the plane with a smile. That smile didn't last long. As I stepped into the first class section, the woman in front of me turned around. She was wearing a sleek flight attendant uniform with perfect hair and red lipstick. She looked at me, then looked at my seat. And her face changed.
Excuse me, miss. First class is full. I think you meant to turn left.
She pointed toward economy. I paused. No. This is my seat. She raised an eyebrow.
Can I see your boarding pass?
I handed it to her. She stared at it for a long time, longer than she should have. Then she scanned it again.
I think this is a mistake. Who booked this for you?
My dad, I said.
And is he flying with you?
No, I'm flying alone. She gave a tight smile.
Let me check with the gate agent.
And she walked away with my boarding pass. I stood there in the aisle. People behind me getting annoyed, people in front of me, staring. There was a man in a suit looking me up and down. A woman in pearls whispered something to her husband. I heard one guy mutter,
Probably trying to sneak into first class.
I wanted to disappear. I had a right to be there. But suddenly, I felt so small. The flight attendant returned. No apology, just a clipped tone.
You can sit. I confirm the seat. Please don't block the aisle next time.
As I sat down, she leaned in close and said,
We'll be watching for passenger compliance. Make sure you follow all instructions, okay?
Then she moved on. 10 minutes into the flight, she walked by again. This time she asked me if I knew how to operate the seatbelt. Then she asked if I needed help understanding the menu. I looked around. She didn't ask anyone else those questions. Just me. I could feel the stares, the judgment, and I could feel something else. Anger. What the flight attendant didn't know was that my dad was still at the airport. He hadn't left. He always waited until the plane took off, just in case. I took out my phone, snapped a picture of my boarding pass, and texted him. Can you believe the flight attendant tried to kick me out of first class? He replied instantly,
What? Which one? What's her name? Still on the runway. BRB.
I didn't know what BRB meant in this case, but I was about to find out. 5 minutes later, the plane was still on the runway, and the same flight attendant walked back up the aisle, this time looking pale. Behind her was the gate supervisor. Behind him? My dad. He had gotten special clearance from security to walk down the jet bridge. And now, he was standing right there, on the plane.
Amira, everything okay?
I nodded, tears in my eyes. The flight attendant stammered.
Sir, she didn't have her boarding pass at first, and I was just trying to...
You were just what?
My dad said, calm but stern.
Making sure this child of color wasn't in a seat you thought she couldn't afford.
Silence.
Would you have stopped her if she looked different, dressed different, if she were blonde?
She didn't answer.
Let me tell you who she is.
He said.
She's my daughter, and I'm the founder and CEO of the airline you work for.
Her face turned white.
I built this airline with the belief that everyone deserves respect, especially our guests, especially our youth.
She tried to apologize. He stopped her.
You didn't just embarrass my daughter. You embarrassed yourself, and you embarrassed this company.
Then he looked at me.
You okay, baby?
I nodded. He kissed my forehead and left the plane. After he left, you could hear a pin drop. Some people looked shocked. Others looked ashamed. The man in the suit suddenly found something fascinating to look at on his phone. The woman in pearls? She wouldn't meet my eyes. The flight attendant came by once more. Soft voice, too soft.
Would you like a warm towel, Miss Wells?
I said no. Then opened my book and read. A few days later, we got a call. The flight attendant had been removed from service pending investigation. My dad never made a public statement. He didn't want to make it about race or politics or headlines. But inside the company, everyone knew. They got the message, and so did I. I'm not mad she didn't recognize me. I'm mad she assumed I didn't belong. Because when you treat someone like they're out of place, you might just be staring at the daughter of the person who built it.